The big meeting room floated in space near a bright star. Inside, strange creatures from many different worlds sat in their special chairs. Some looked like giant bugs with hard shells. Others were made of pure light that moved and changed shape. A few had too many eyes or arms that bent in weird ways. They were all talking at once, making sounds that the computer changed into words everyone could understand. The noise filled the room as they argued about taxes and trade routes and who could fly where in space. But one chair sat empty. Ambassador Veltar pointed at the empty spot with one of his 4 arms. His skin was purple and covered in small scales that changed color when he got angry. Right now they were turning dark red. "Look at this," he said, his voice loud enough for everyone to hear. "The humans are missing again. They have not come to our meetings for more than 100 cycles. Their last person left and said they would come back soon. That was a very long time ago." Chancellor Morden made clicking sounds with his mouth parts. He looked like a giant ant, but was smart like a person. "Maybe it is better this way," he said. "When they came here, they always asked too many questions. They wanted to know why we made so many rules about their ships. They did not like our laws." The other aliens nodded their heads or made whatever movement showed they agreed. The humans had always been difficult. They came from a small planet far away and did not understand how things worked in the big galaxy. They were young and stupid, like children who asked why too much. "I say we should make new rules," said another voice from across the room. This came from something that looked like a tree but could think and talk. "The humans are not here to speak for themselves, so we can decide what is best for them." More clicking and buzzing sounds filled the room as the aliens talked among themselves. They made new laws that would make life harder for humans. Ships from Earth would have to pay more money to trade. Human ships could not use the fast space roads that connected different star systems. Any human who wanted to visit other worlds would have to take special classes to learn how to act properly. The meeting went on for hours. No one talked about the empty chair anymore, far away on Earth. Admiral Kim Tae-ho stood in a room deep underground in the city of Seoul. The walls were covered with screens showing pictures of space and alien ships. He was a tall man with gray hair and serious eyes. He had been watching the aliens for many years. "They think we gave up," he said to the other people in the room. "They think we went home to hide like scared children. Let them think that." Dr. Park Minji touched a button on her desk. The screens changed to show pictures of alien technology that humans had found floating in space. Broken pieces of ships, old computers, and weapons that did not work anymore. But humans were very good at fixing things and making them work again. "We learned more from their garbage than they ever taught us in those meetings," she said. Dr. Park was smaller than the Admiral, but her mind was very sharp. She could look at alien technology and understand how it worked better than the aliens who made it. General Lee Seok-jin hit the table with his fist. He was a strong man who did not like to sit still. "While they sit in their fancy meeting room and talk, we have been working. Show them what we built, Doctor." The screens changed again. Now they showed pictures that would have shocked the aliens if they could see them. Huge factories were hidden inside big rocks that floated in space. Thousands of ships were being built in secret places where no one could find them. The ships were bigger and stronger than anything the aliens had ever made. Some of the factories were hidden in the storms on the giant planet Jupiter. The lightning and winds made so much noise that no one could detect the sounds of building. Other factories were built inside asteroids that looked like normal rocks from the outside. But inside, robots worked day and night making new weapons and ships. "How many ships do we have now?" asked Admiral Kim. "More than 12,000, said Dr. Park, "and they are all invisible to alien sensors. We learned how to hide from their machines by studying the technology they threw away." The Admiral walked to the biggest screen and looked at a map of the galaxy. Little dots showed where human ships were hiding. They were everywhere. Around alien worlds, near their space stations, watching their military bases. The aliens had no idea that humans were so close. "They gave us 127 cycles of peace," said Admiral Kim. "We did not waste a single day. While they made laws to control us, we built the largest fleet in the galaxy." Captain Yoon Ji-won appeared on one of the screens. She was calling from a ship hidden near an alien world. "Admiral, I have been watching their defense systems. They are old and slow. Our new ships can fly around them like they are standing still." "What about their weapons?" asked General Lee. "They have not improved their weapons in 50 years, said Captain Yoon. "They became lazy because no one ever fought them. They think their technology is the best in the galaxy." Dr. Park smiled for the first time that day. They never learned the most important human skill. We know how to take something apart and make it better. They just use the same old things their grandparents made. The Admiral turned back to face the room. The aliens think we are weak because we stopped coming to their meetings. They think we are afraid of them. But we were never afraid. We were preparing. Lieutenant Commander Han Do-young raised his hand. He was young but very smart about alien languages and cultures. Sir, what happens when they find out what we have been doing? They will be very surprised, said the Admiral. But by then it will be too late. We will be ready to talk to them as equals, not as children who need permission to fly in space. The room became quiet as everyone thought about what would happen next. For more than a century, humans had been treated like they did not matter. The aliens made decisions about human space without asking humans what they wanted. They acted like Earth was just a small, unimportant world that could be ignored. But humans had been busy during those quiet years. Every alien ship that broke down near Earth was studied. Every piece of alien technology that was thrown away was collected and improved. Human scientists worked together in ways that aliens never did. Where aliens kept their best technology secret from each other, humans shared everything they learned. When do we show them what we built? Asked Dr. Park. Admiral Kim looked at the galaxy map one more time. Every dot representing a human ship was in the perfect position. Every alien world was surrounded. Every alien military base was being watched. The humans had built the most powerful force the galaxy had ever seen, and they had done it in complete silence. Soon, he said, very soon, it is time to return their calls and have a proper conversation. I think they will find our terms very interesting. The empty chair in the alien meeting room would not be empty much longer. When humans returned to galactic politics, they would not be coming back as the weak, ignored species they once were. They would be coming back as the strongest power the galaxy had ever seen. And they had learned this lesson from the aliens themselves. Sometimes the best way to win is to let your enemy think they have already won. Captain Yoon Ji-won moved her hands across the control panel of her ship. The Phantom Dawn flew through space like a ghost. No alien sensor could see it. No alien computer knew it was there. She had been watching the enemy for 3 months, and they still had no idea she existed. Her ship was small but very advanced. Human scientists had taken alien technology and made it much better. The hull was covered in a special material that bent light around it. The engines were so quiet that they made less noise than a whisper. Even the heat from the ship's power was hidden by clever tricks that human engineers had invented. Captain, I am getting new messages from their defense grid, said Lieutenant Han Do-young. He sat at the communication station, listening to alien radio signals. It sounds like the hegemony is sending more fleets to the Kepler sector. Ji-won's face became hard with anger. The Kepler sector had many worlds with people who had not yet learned to fly in space. They were peaceful species who did not even know that aliens existed. The hegemony wanted to integrate these worlds, which was a nice way of saying they wanted to conquer them and steal their resources. How many ships are they sending? She asked. At least 3 full fleets, Han replied. Maybe more. They are talking about a final integration campaign that will bring 27 new worlds under their control. Ji-won had seen what happened when the hegemony integrated a world. First, they landed their ships and said they came in peace. They offered technology and protection, but the price was always the same, complete surrender. The local people had to follow hegemony laws, pay hegemony taxes, and send their young people to work in hegemony factories. Any world that said no was attacked until they changed their minds. The hegemony called it bringing civilization to primitive species. Humans called it slavery with extra steps. Send a quantum burst transmission to Admiral Kim, Ji-won ordered. Priority Alpha. Tell him the hegemony is moving against the Kepler worlds. The quantum burst was a human invention that the aliens could not detect or intercept. It sent messages instantly across any distance by using the strange rules of quantum physics that most aliens did not understand. Human scientists had learned about quantum mechanics by studying alien computers, then figured out how to use it better than the aliens ever could. Back on Earth, Admiral Kim received the message in his underground command center. The walls were covered with screens showing the entire galaxy. Thousands of small lights blinked on the display. Each light was a human ship hiding somewhere in space. The hegemony is making their move, he told the others in the room, just as we expected they would. Fleet Admiral Cho Hyunwoo appeared on one of the screens. He was calling from the edge of the Andromeda Galaxy, where his ships were hiding in the empty space between stars. "Seventh Fleet is ready, Admiral. We have been mining the empty systems out here for decades. The Council never bothered to check these areas because they thought nothing valuable could exist so far from their worlds." The Admiral smiled. That was exactly what humans had counted on. While the aliens argued about who controlled the valuable systems near their homeworlds, humans had been quietly building bases in the places that aliens ignored. Dead systems with no planets, empty spaces between galaxies, and regions of space that aliens thought were too dangerous to explore. "What about the core systems?" asked Admiral Kim. Vice Admiral Song Yerim's face appeared on another screen. She was a small woman with sharp eyes who commanded the fleets near the galaxy's center. "Ninth and 10th fleets are in position around the galactic core. We have been watching every major council shipyard for months. They have no idea we are here." Dr. Park Minji walked up to the Admiral with a tablet computer in her hands. The screen was covered with equations and diagrams that would have confused most people, but Admiral Kim understood what they meant. "The quantum disruption network is online," she said. "When we activate it, alien faster-than-light communications will be limited to line of sight only. They will not be able to coordinate their fleets across the galaxy." This was another human invention that would shock the aliens. By sending special quantum signals to specific points in space, humans could disrupt the subspace communications that aliens use to talk to each other across long distances. It would be like cutting all the telephone wires at the same time. Alien fleets would be isolated and unable to call for help. Admiral Kim studied the galaxy map one more time. Every human fleet was in the perfect position. They surrounded every important alien world. Every military base, every shipyard, and every resource center. The aliens had no idea that they were completely surrounded by a force larger than anything they had ever seen. But this was not just about military power. Admiral Kim had studied alien psychology for many years. He knew that the shock of discovery would be just as important as the size of the human fleet. When the aliens realized what humans had accomplished during their absence, it would destroy their belief that they were the most advanced species in the galaxy. "Signal all fleets," Admiral Kim commanded. "Begin Phase 1. It is time to return their calls." All across the galaxy, human ships received the signal. Captain Yun Ji-won smiled as the message appeared on her screen. She had been waiting for this moment for 3 years. "All stations prepare for decloak," she announced to her crew. "It is time to introduce ourselves to our neighbors." Around the hegemony homeworld, 50 human ships suddenly appeared out of nowhere. They had been hiding in the planet's asteroid belt disguised as Space Orcs. Now they revealed themselves, their sleek hulls gleaming in the light of the alien sun. The same thing was happening everywhere. Near the collective's capital, human ships emerged from Jupiter-sized gas giants where they had been hiding in the storms. Around the Council's main space station, human vessels appeared from behind moons and inside nebulae, where alien sensors could not reach. On the bridge of the Phantom Dawn, Lieutenant Han Do-young was listening to alien communications with a big smile on his face. "Captain, you should hear this. The alien defense forces are panicking. They have never seen ships like ours before. They are asking each other what species we belong to." Captain Yun Ji-won activated her ship's external communications. It was time to answer that question. "Attention, Hegemony Defense Force," she said, speaking in perfect hegemony language. "This is Captain Yun Ji-won of the Terran Defense Fleet. We have been watching your preparations for the Kepler sector invasion. We would like to discuss this with you." The response came back immediately, filled with confusion and fear. "Unknown vessel, identify your species and state your intentions. You are in violation of hegemony space." "Our species is human," Yun replied calmly. "Our intentions are to have a conversation about your expansion plans. We have some concerns about your treatment of developing worlds." There was a long silence from the alien ship. Finally, the voice came back, much less confident than before. "Humans, but you are a primitive species. How do you have ships like these? Where did they come from?" Yun looked at her tactical display. All around the galaxy, similar conversations were happening as human ships revealed themselves to shocked alien forces. The aliens were discovering that the species they had dismissed as weak and unimportant had built the most powerful fleet in galactic history. "We have been busy during our absence from council meetings," she said. "We learned a lot from the technology you discarded. We also learned a lot about your military strategies by watching you for so many years. Admiral Kim's voice came over the fleet communication system, broadcast to every human ship in the galaxy. All captains, this is Admiral Kim. Make contact with local alien forces. Be polite but firm. Let them know that humanity is ready to resume diplomatic relations. As Captain Yoon Ji-won prepared to begin the most important conversation in human history, she thought about all the years of preparation that had led to this moment. The aliens had thought that ignoring humans would make them go away. Instead, it had given humans the time they needed to become stronger than anyone could have imagined. The galaxy was about to learn a very important lesson about underestimating the quiet species in the corner. Sometimes the best way to get someone's attention is to show them what you accomplished while they were not paying attention to you. The meeting room where the aliens held their council sessions was in chaos. Alarms were screaming from every wall. Red lights flashed as emergency messages appeared on screens throughout the chamber. The aliens who usually sat calmly in their chairs were now running around in panic. Ambassador Veltar was trying to read 3 different reports at the same time. His purple scales had turned completely black with fear. "How many ships did you say?" he asked the tactical officer who had just run into the room. Tactical Officer Kexley was breathing heavily. His uniform was torn and dirty from running through the corridors. "Sir, we count over 3,000 vessels. Maybe more. They appeared all at once everywhere in Council space. We have never seen anything like this." Chancellor Morden's clicking sounds had become very fast and high-pitched. When his species got scared, they made sounds like angry insects. 3,000 ships? What species has that many vessels? The largest fleet in the galaxy belongs to us, and we only have 800 ships total. The big holographic display in the center of the room came to life. It showed a map of the entire galaxy with thousands of red dots scattered across it. Each red dot was an unknown ship that had suddenly appeared near an alien world or military base. Ambassador Veltar pointed at the display with a shaking arm. "Look at the positions. They are not random. These ships are surrounding our homeworlds, our shipyards, our defense stations. This is not an invasion. This is a siege of the entire galaxy." The other aliens in the room stared at the display in horror. In all their thousands of years of space travel, they had never seen anything like this. The unknown force had appeared from nowhere and surrounded every important location in alien space at exactly the same time. "Sir," said Tactical Officer Kexley, "we are getting closer scans of the unknown vessels. The ships are very advanced. Our sensors can barely detect them even when they are not trying to hide. The hull design is completely new. We have never seen this technology before." The display zoomed in on one of the mysterious fleets. The ships were sleek and dangerous looking, with smooth lines that seemed to cut through space itself. They were much larger than most alien vessels, and their energy readings showed power levels that should have been impossible. Chancellor Morden was studying the energy patterns on his personal screen. "Wait," he said slowly. "These energy signatures, they look familiar, but that is impossible." Before anyone could ask what he meant, every communication system in the room activated at once. A calm human voice filled the chamber, speaking in perfect Council standard language. "Galactic Council, this is Commander So Ji-hoon of the United Earthship Retribution. We received your messages about various legislative actions taken during our absence from your meetings." The room became completely silent. Even the emergency alarm seemed to quiet down. Every alien in the chamber turned to stare at the empty chair marked Terra that had sat unused for over a century. "We have been busy," the human voice continued, "but we are ready to discuss terms now. Shall we reschedule that meeting we missed?" Ambassador Veltar felt his legs become weak. He had to grab his chair to keep from falling down. "Humans?" he whispered. "The red dots are all human ships?" On the bridge of the UES Retribution, Commander So Ji-hoon was watching his tactical display with satisfaction. Around him, his crew worked quietly at their stations. They had trained for this moment for years, and everything was going exactly as planned. "Sir, we are receiving panic signals from alien defense forces throughout the galaxy," reported Lieutenant Choi Min-soo. "They are trying to coordinate a response, but our quantum disruption field is blocking their long-range communications. Commander." So smiled. "Let them panic for a few minutes. They need time to understand what they are seeing." Admiral Bae Wanho appeared on the main screen, calling from his flagship at the edge of hegemony space. "Commander So, this is Admiral Bae. The 15th Fleet is in position around the hegemony capital. Their defense grid is already offline. Dr. Park's quantum torpedoes work even better than we hoped. The quantum torpedoes were another human invention that had improved on alien technology. By using quantum mechanics in ways that aliens had never thought of, the torpedoes could pass through alien shields as if they were not there. But these weapons were not meant to destroy. They were designed to disable alien systems without hurting anyone. Captain O'Higgins' voice came from another part of the galaxy. "Commander, this is Captain O reporting from the collective homeworld. Their invincible defense platforms are completely helpless against our new weapons. We could take control of their entire system in minutes if we wanted to. But that was not the plan. Admiral Kim had been very clear about this. The goal was not to conquer the aliens or destroy their civilizations. The goal was to show them that humanity was now the strongest power in the galaxy, and that the time for treating humans like children was over." Back in the council chamber, the aliens were still trying to understand what was happening. The holographic display showed more details about the human ships as alien sensors got better readings. The numbers were shocking. "Each human vessel is the size of one of our battleships," reported Tactical Officer Kexley. "But our computers say they have the firepower of an entire fleet." "How is that possible?" Dr. Park Minji's voice came over the communication system, speaking to the entire Galactic Council. "While you debated whether we deserved a voice in galactic affairs, we studied every piece of technology you discarded. We learned from your mistakes and improved on your successes. We know more about your own weapons than you do." She was calling from Earth, where she stood in the main command center surrounded by screens showing alien technology that humans had captured and improved over the decades. "Did you know that your shield generators waste 60% of their energy because of a design flaw that your ancestors made 12,000 years ago? We fixed that problem. Our shields are 3 times stronger than yours and use half the power." Ambassador Veltar was looking at his personal screen, which showed technical readings from the human ships. The numbers made no sense. According to the data, each human vessel was more advanced than the best ships in the entire alien fleet. "This is impossible," he said out loud. "Humans are a primitive species. They barely learned to fly in space a few centuries ago. They cannot have technology like this." Captain Park Sungjae's voice answered him directly. "Ambassador Veltar, this is Captain Park of Human Intelligence Operations. We have been monitoring your communications for 127 cycles. We heard every meeting where you called us primitive. We listened to every debate about the human problem. We recorded every discussion about keeping us isolated and weak. The revelation hit the aliens like a physical blow. For over a century, they had believed that humans had simply given up and gone home. They thought Earth was too far away and too weak to matter. But humans had been listening to everything. Every empty system you ignored was filled with our monitoring stations," Captain Park continued. "Every asteroid field you dismissed contained our observers. Every piece of space junk you threw away became a source of intelligence for our scientists." Admiral Kim Taiho appeared on the main screen, his image broadcast from Earth's command center. The aliens could see the massive displays behind him showing detailed maps of their own military positions and fleet movements. "You made one critical error," he told the shocked council members. "You assumed that absence meant weakness. In human culture, we have a saying, 'Still waters run deep.' You thought the quiet human in the corner had nothing to say. You were wrong. The tactical display updated to show even more human ships appearing throughout the galaxy. The count had now reached over 5,000 vessels, with more still being detected as they dropped their stealth systems. Every world you threatened, every species you integrated against their will, every resource you claimed, we were there, watching, learning, planning, building." Admiral Kim's voice was calm but filled with authority that made even the most powerful aliens feel small. The council chamber erupted in frightened discussions. Representatives who had spent decades dismissing humans as irrelevant now realized they were completely surrounded by a force that had been studying their every move. "Ambassador," Veltar tried to stand up straight and speak with his old authority, but his voice was shaking. What do you want from us?" The human admiral smiled. "What we have always wanted, Ambassador. A proper voice in galactic affairs. The right to protect developing worlds from forced integration, fair trade agreements that do not punish us for being human, and respect for the simple idea that all species deserve to be heard. You have our attention now," Admiral Kim continued. "The question is, are you ready to listen?" 2 weeks after the great revealing, the emergency session of the Galactic Council began. The meeting room had been changed. Security guards stood at every entrance. Extra screens showed the positions of human fleets that still surrounded every major alien world. The atmosphere was tense and fearful. Ambassador Lee Ji-hoon walked into the chamber with confident steps. He was a tall man with kind eyes but a firm voice. Behind him walked Dr. Shin Mik-young and Captain Park Sung-jae. For the first time in over a century, humans were attending a council meeting as equals, not as junior members begging for permission. The empty chair marked Terra was empty no more. Ambassador Lee sat down and looked around the room at the alien faces that stared back at him. Some looked angry. Others looked scared. All of them looked confused. "Before we begin," Lee said calmly, "let us address the elephant in the room, or rather the 5,000 elephants surrounding your worlds." Ambassador Veltar's purple scales were still darker than usual. His previous confidence had completely disappeared. "The hegemony wishes to clarify our previous positions regarding human participation in council affairs," he said carefully, as if each word might be dangerous. Dr. Shin Mik-young stood up from her chair. She was a small woman who specialized in studying alien biology and psychology. In her hands, she carried a tablet that contained information that would shock every species in the chamber. "While you debated whether we deserved a voice in these meetings, we studied every species represented here," she said. "Your biology, your psychology, your history, your technology. We know things about yourselves that many of you have forgotten." She activated her tablet, and a holographic display appeared above the council table. It showed the evolutionary history of the collective species, going back thousands of years. The aliens in the room leaned forward to see details that they had never seen before. "Did you know that your species once had individual consciousness?" Dr. Shin asked Chancellor Morden directly. "The integration process that you are so eager to force on primitive worlds, you performed that same process on yourselves. 12,000 years ago, the..." Clicking sounds from Chancellor Morden stopped completely. His compound eyes stared at the display in shock. "That information is classified historical data. It has been sealed in our most secure archives for millennia. How did you access it?" Captain Park Sung-jae stepped forward. His job had been to gather intelligence on alien civilizations while they thought humans were not paying attention. "We have been listening, Chancellor. Every encrypted transmission, every classified database, every secret communication. We found ways to access all of it." The holographic display changed to show intelligence networks that humans had built throughout alien space. Monitoring stations hidden in asteroid belts, spy satellites disguised as space debris, communication intercept systems that could crack any alien code. "Every empty system you ignored contained our equipment," Captain Park explained. "Every piece of space junk you threw away became a listening post. For over a century, we recorded every meeting, every military briefing, every private conversation between your leaders. A representative from the energy beings, creatures made of pure light who rarely spoke in council meetings, suddenly began glowing brighter. When energy beings got upset, their light became more intense. You violated our privacy, the energy being said, its voice like the sound of electricity. You spied on sovereign species without permission. This is an act of war." Ambassador Lee remained calm. "With respect, honored energy being, we learned spying from you. Do you think we did not know about your monitoring stations around Earth? Do you think we could not detect your spy ships in our solar system?" The energy being's glow dimmed with surprise. "You knew we were watching you?" "We knew everyone was watching us," Lee replied. "The difference is that we learned from what we observed, while you simply gathered information to use against us." Dr. Shin activated another display, this one showing detailed psychological profiles of every alien species. The hegemony species has a genetic need to dominate other groups. It comes from their evolution as pack hunters. The collective lost their individual thinking because they were afraid of making wrong decisions alone. The energy beings believe they are superior to all physical life forms because they have no bodies. Each revelation hit the aliens like a physical blow. Humans had not just been watching, they had been understanding. They had studied alien minds and learned exactly how each species thought and why. They made the decisions they did. "This knowledge was supposed to be secret," whispered a representative from the tree-like species. "Our psychological weaknesses are not meant to be known by others." Nothing was secret from us, said Captain Park. We saw your military plans before your own soldiers did. We read your diplomatic messages before your ambassadors sent them. We knew about the invasion of the Kepler sector 6 months before you announced it publicly. The room filled with frightened murmurs as aliens realized the full extent of human intelligence gathering. Every species had secrets they thought were safely hidden. Now they learned that humans knew everything. Admiral Kim Tae-ho appeared on the main communication screen, broadcasting from Earth. Behind him, the aliens could see displays showing their own worlds, their own fleets, their own defense systems, all monitored in real time by human technology. You built your power on the assumption that information equals control, Admiral Kim told the assembly. You kept secrets from each other while spying on everyone else. But you made one mistake. You underestimated the species you were spying on. He gestured to the displays behind him. We turned your own methods against you. While you watched us, we were watching you. While you gathered intelligence on Earth, we were learning everything about your civilizations. The difference is that we used what we learned to build something better. Ambassador Veltar tried to recover some of his old authority. Even if you know our secrets, what can you do with that knowledge? You may have a large fleet, but you cannot control the entire galaxy forever. Dr. Shin smiled. Control? Who said anything about control? We do not want to rule the galaxy, Ambassador. We want to change it. The holographic display shifted again, showing human proposals for galactic government reform. Instead of the current system where strong species dominated weak ones, humans proposed a council where every species had an equal voice. Instead of forced integration of primitive worlds, they suggested voluntary cooperation and protection. Your system is based on fear and dominance, Ambassador Lee explained. Strong species conquer weak ones. Advanced civilizations force their culture on primitive ones. The powerful make decisions for everyone else. But fear-based systems are not stable, Dr. Shin added. Eventually, the weak become strong. The oppressed fight back. The system collapses under its own weight. We have seen this pattern in the history of every species in this room. She showed historical examples from alien civilizations, revolutions, civil wars, and collapses that happened when ruling classes pushed their people too far. You are repeating the same mistakes your ancestors made, the same mistakes that nearly destroyed each of your civilizations in the past. Admiral Kim leaned forward on the screen. We offer an alternative, a system based on cooperation instead of domination, protection instead of conquest, partnership instead of slavery. And what if we refuse your alternative? Asked Chancellor Morden, though his clicking sounds were much quieter than before. Then you continue as you are, Admiral Kim replied simply. But you do so knowing that every action you take is being watched. Every aggressive move is being recorded. Every attempt to harm innocent species is being monitored by a force that is stronger than anything you can build. The weight of his words settled over the chamber, like a heavy blanket. The aliens realized that their old way of doing things was over. They could choose to work with humans, or they could try to continue their aggressive expansion. But either way, they would be doing it under human observation and with human judgment. Think carefully about your next decisions, Ambassador Lee said as he stood up from the Terra chair. The galaxy is watching, and now finally so are we. The meeting room fell silent as the human delegation prepared to leave. The aliens sat in their chairs, staring at the displays that showed human ships surrounding their worlds. They had been given a choice, but it was clear that only one choice would lead to a future worth having. For the first time in galactic history, the strong were being held accountable by someone even stronger. 6 months had passed since humanity returned to galactic politics. The council chambers looked very different now. The circular seating arrangement had been changed to put all species at the same level. No one sat higher than anyone else. The Terra delegation occupied seats near the center, where their voices could be easily heard by everyone. Secretary General Kim Nara stood at the center of the chamber, addressing a much more attentive audience than humans had ever received before. She was a diplomat who had spent years studying alien cultures and learning how to speak to different species in ways they could understand, rather than the conquest model the Council has used for thousands of years. We propose genuine partnership with developing civilizations, she said. Her words were translated into dozens of alien languages, but many of the aliens had learned to speak human languages during the past 6 months. The proposal she presented was completely different from anything the Council had ever considered. Instead of forcing primitive worlds to accept alien culture and technology, humans suggested protecting them while they developed at their own pace. Instead of taking resources from conquered worlds, the new system would involve fair trade that benefited everyone. When a species is ready for contact with galactic civilization, that contact should happen on their terms, not ours, Kim Nara explained. They should choose how much technology to accept, how much change to allow, and how fast they want to join the galactic community. Ambassador Veltar raised one of his 4 arms to ask a question. His purple scales had returned to their normal color, but he was much more respectful than he had been before. Secretary General Kim, how can we know if a species is truly ready for contact? Some worlds might never develop space travel on their own. That is their choice to make, Kim Nara replied. If a species is happy living on their home world without space travel, what gives us the right to force them to change? Just because we can travel between stars does not mean every species must do the same. This idea was shocking to many of the aliens. For thousands of years, they had believed that advanced technology was always better than primitive technology. They thought that all species should want to become like them. The human suggestion that some civilizations might choose to remain simple was completely new. Admiral Choi Dong-min appeared on one of the communication screens. He was calling from the Kepler sector, where human fleets had established protective zones around the pre-spaceflight worlds that the hegemony had planned to invade. The civilizations here are developing beautifully, he reported. We have been watching them for 6 months without making contact. 3 species have developed new forms of art. 2 have made advances in medicine. 1 has created a form of government that is more fair than anything we have seen before. But they do not know we exist? Asked Chancellor Morden. They have no idea that galactic civilization exists, Admiral Choi confirmed. And they are happy. Their worlds are peaceful. They are solving their problems in their own ways. When they are ready to reach for the stars, they will do it themselves. The idea that primitive species could be happy without advanced technology was difficult for many aliens to accept. The hegemony had built their entire culture around the belief that they were helping primitive worlds by conquering them. The collective thought that all species should be integrated into their hive mind for their own good. Dr. Lim Seo-young, who now served as head of the Galactic Ethics Committee, addressed these concerns directly. Power without wisdom is tyranny, she said. We learned this lesson by watching the Council for 127 cycles. True strength is not in forcing others to be like you. True strength is in protecting their right to be themselves. The Ethics Committee was a new organization that humans had created to monitor the behavior of all galactic civilizations, including Earth itself. It had representatives from every species, but it operated according to principles that humans had developed after studying the failures of previous galactic governments. Every species has the right to develop at their own pace, Dr. Lim continued. Every civilization has the right to choose their own path. Every world has the right to say no to contact with galactic civilization. These rights are not negotiable. Chancellor Morden shifted uncomfortably in his seat. The collective had spent centuries believing that individual choice was dangerous and that all beings should think together for the good of the group. But what if a species makes wrong choices? What if they develop weapons that could destroy themselves? Should we not intervene to prevent disaster? Only if they ask for our help, Dr. Lim replied firmly, and only in ways that they choose to accept. We can offer advice, but we cannot force solutions. The changes went deeper than just new policies about primitive worlds. The entire structure of galactic government had been reformed. Trade agreements that had favored strong species over weak ones were rewritten to be fair to everyone. Military alliances based on domination were replaced with mutual defense pacts that protected all members equally. Most importantly, the constant expansion that had driven galactic politics for millennia had finally stopped. Instead of always seeking new worlds to conquer, the Reformed Council focused on improving life in the systems they already controlled. Admiral Kim Tae-ho appeared on the main communication screen to address the assembled representatives. He had become the supreme military advisor to the Reformed Galactic Council, a position that gave him authority over all military forces in the galaxy. You built your power on the assumption that might makes right, he told the aliens. We built our power on the principle that right makes might. The difference is not just philosophical, it is practical. He gestured to a display showing military statistics from across the galaxy. Since the reforms began, we have had 0 military conflicts between Council member species. Piracy has dropped by 90%. Refugee populations have decreased as worlds are no longer forced to flee from conquest. Trade has increased because all species now benefit fairly from economic relationships. The numbers were impressive, but the real change was in the atmosphere of the galaxy itself. Fear had been replaced by cooperation. Suspicion had been replaced by trust. The constant preparation for war had been replaced by planning for peace. But perhaps the most significant change was in how the aliens viewed humanity. The species they had once dismissed as primitive and irrelevant had become the guardians of galactic civilization. "We do not rule you," Admiral Kim explained. "We protect you from each other and from yourselves. Human fleets remain in position not as occupying forces but as peacekeepers. We are here to ensure that the strong do not abuse the weak." Ambassador Lee Ji-hoon stood to address the final question that many aliens still had. "Some of you wonder what humans gained from this transformation. What do we get from protecting primitive worlds and enforcing fair trade?" He smiled as he looked around the chamber at representatives from species that had once ignored or dismissed humanity. "We get to live in a galaxy where right matters more than might, where wisdom is valued more than weapons, where every species, no matter how small or weak, has a voice that is heard and respected. We get to be proud of what we built together," he continued, "instead of being ashamed of what we took by force." The session ended with the passage of the Galactic Peace Accords, a document that established the new principles of interstellar relations. Every species signed willingly, not because they were forced to, but because they had seen that the human way worked better than the old system of conquest and domination. As the representatives filed out of the chamber, many of them stopped to thank the human delegates. Species that had once been enemies were now working together. Worlds that had been preparing for invasion were now planning for peaceful development. The galaxy map in the council chambers showed a different picture than it had 6 months earlier. Human fleets were still in position around major worlds, but they were no longer symbols of threat. They were symbols of protection, guaranteeing that peace would be maintained and that the strong would never again abuse the weak. Earth had not skipped those council meetings because they could not attend. They had skipped them because they were building something better, and now, working together with their former enemies, they had created a galaxy where every voice mattered. The empty chair that had once symbolized human irrelevance had become the foundation of a new galactic order, an order built on the simple principle that sometimes the most powerful response to being ignored is to become impossible, to ignore and then use that power to make sure no one else is ever ignored again. In the depths of space, human monitoring stations continued their eternal watch, but now they were watching over a galaxy at peace, where the quiet voices were finally being heard.